Hello, hello, hello. I have not gone live in so long, but here we are. So I am starting something that I'm going to be doing on Wednesdays. I almost said every Wednesday, but I don't want to marry myself to that. But um I wanted to do some more live writings with you all because, first of all, I think writing is really fun when it's done in groups. Of course, like most of us do writing by ourselves, right? Like journal writing, you're usually doing it by yourself. And really, just with most writing, you're doing it by yourself, and it can make it incredibly therapeutic to do it by yourself. But it can also be really fun to do it with other people and to feel like there is a community behind you who are writing. So, as with most of the things I start, who knows what this is going to become or the types of, well, I know the types of writing because all of my writing is going to be geared towards emotional writing. So, this is also an opportunity for you to get a taste of what I do in my coaching, what I do in my workshops, and just what I believe overall about the power of writing and about the power of our emotions. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about the title and then we're going to get to writing because that's why we're here. So, when it comes to emotional writing, for those of you who don't know or who haven't been really catching a lot of the things that I've been posting, emotional writing is essentially just using therapeutic writing prompts to help you answer life's hardest questions for yourself, right? I was in a conversation with someone yesterday, and it's someone very dear to my heart. And we were talking about just life, right? And the chaos sometimes that we can find ourselves in when it comes to our lives. And I don't think that chaos is always a bad thing. So let me talk about what I mean by chaos. So sometimes you can be going through life and it kind of feels like one of these, right? Or like you're having like this extreme dichotomy of emotions where you might be maybe going through a lot of challenges and a lot of difficulties and you're living in that and you're breathing it, but at the same time you're also really excited because you know that though there are challenges and though there are things going on in your life that maybe you don't currently like, that you're holding on because you know that something really great is going to come. So sometimes chaos can feel like that, right? Like the embracing your current reality but knowing that I just want to get there, I want to get on the other side of this. And then there's chaos that comes with you're going through your everyday life and everyday life is feeling very mundane to you and you're wanting something greater or there's like a gnawing inside of you, um, but you don't know what that gnawing is. It's like feeling like you want change, feeling like something is off and like maybe things need to just be shaken up, but you don't know where to start, and maybe even the ideas of where to start feel even overwhelming. um, so I feel like there's people just facing various types of what I would consider chaos, which is just a lot of exterior data, situations, relationships that are causing a whole lot of conflicting emotions inside of our heads. So, emotional writing is to your emotions what a planner is to your daily activities and your tasks, right? So I'm going to go with like the low hanging fruit of the planner because that's what we all can understand. So when I get a planner or get a calendar, all that I'm doing is taking everything that's inside of my head and I'm organizing it and I'm making sense of it so that I don't feel burdened by everything that's in my head, right? So I have a planning day, and on that planning day, I'm taking all of my tasks and responsibilities, all the things I want to accomplish, my goals, things that I want to do this week, and I'm getting it out of my head and I'm putting it into an organized fashion on paper where I can see it and it comes to life for me. And that really minimizes stress and helps me stay organized, right? And helps me to feel like I'm connected to my life, right? Because without it, without like having that organization and that visual in front of me, I can feel like I'm just being pulled by life, that life is pulling me, and that I don't have any, let's say, control over myself, that I'm just kind of open to life's whims that can feel very overwhelming. So the same thing is true for your emotions, right? When you have all of these conflicting emotions inside of your head and there's nowhere for those emotions to go, and not even just in your head, because emotions are present within our entire body. So imagine like this energy just moving throughout your body on a consistent basis. And because that energy doesn't have anywhere to go, and because you haven't set up a system to even connect to those emotions and to even connect to the story underneath those emotions, it can just feel really chaotic, the same way that it would be if you didn't plan out your week or you didn't do anything with your tasks and your schedule, or like things that you know you need to get done and it's just sitting. It can just feel like you're stopped up, and every step you take is just that much more frustrating because it's just overwhelming, right? So emotional writing is a strategy that helps you dive into the emotions that are currently in your body and just start taking those emotions one at a time and going underneath the emotion. So, today we're going to do a really simple activity that I call Get Out of Your Head. And what this writing activity is going to challenge you to do is to write, but write in third person. Okay, so I'm taking you all back to probably high school, maybe even college, right? So there's three different ways that we can write. All of us are first person writers in general, because a first person writer is you're writing from your own head, right? You're writing using the pronouns I, my, mine. All of that is you feeling it and you being in your body and writing as you. That's first person. Second person is when I'm writing to all of you and I'm using the you, and it's kind of like a we're in this together, right? And it's more exterior focus. Third person is as objective as we can be. I don't believe in like pure objectivity, right? Like it's just impossible for us to say, okay, I'm going to ignore my thoughts and my experiences and I'm going to write like this third person cog who has no emotions. That just like doesn't exist, right? But to the best of our ability, when we write in third person in a more generalized, and third person is more so, think about it when you were in school and you were writing academic papers. It allows you to take a step back from something, remove a lot of your pre-existing stories and emotions surrounding a topic or surrounding whatever you're writing, and look at it in a more holistic way. So when you are writing about yourself in the third person, it takes away a lot of the shame that we already have about ourselves, the guilt that we already have about ourselves, these stories that we've already told ourselves about the way that we feel, right? And it kind of gives us a fresh slate when it comes to actually writing and getting to places inside of our emotions that we might be a little bit too connected to. And I want to say this as well. A lot of times our emotions, we we project them onto people, right? And it's natural, right? Like you triggered something in me that made me angry, so now my anger I'm placing solely on you. You have made me angry, so now this anger I'm attaching to you. And while that might be the inception of the anger, right? Like the anger came because they triggered something in you. The beyond the trigger, the purpose of that emotion is not to then just consistently project, because that's a waste of the emotion, right? I can say over and over and over again, you made me angry, you made me angry. And even if that person apologizes or makes it right, sometimes that emotion is still in my body. And the best way to actually process your emotions and to learn from your emotions is to go beyond the surface, beyond the trigger. Whatever caused the emotion, really in the grand scheme of things, doesn't have a lot of value. It's not essentially the cause, it is what that emotion then is telling you. What is that emotion speaking to you? What is that emotion revealing to you about you? Emotions are symptoms, emotions are data. They are highly valuable. And emotions don't come with a story. We have given them the story, right? So emotional writing then says, okay, let's get rid of the story that we usually give our emotions, and let's get rid of the names and the scenarios that we usually focus upon. And let's look at the emotion in a more objective point and ask the emotion, right? Because emotions are just energy in our bodies. And I know that emotions are here because I feel them. So there's something alive within me, right? That energy is alive within me. So I can literally hone into that emotion and I can start diving into, what are you trying to tell me about me? What is this moment? What is this emotion that's coming up really trying to tell me about me, about my life, about my past, about my present, about whatever? So that's in essence the purpose of why we hone into certain emotions and why we specifically write to those emotions, right? Because I believe that emotions have their own story to tell us. And it is so much more detailed and so much more personalized than sometimes what we've already given to our emotions. So, what I'm going to do, and I'm going to be writing. So, if you're here with me, I'm writing because it says write with me. So, a place to hold myself accountable and to have fun writing with myself, but it's also to invite you on the journey as well. So the first thing that I want you to do is and I do timers just to kind of help with the flow. So what we're going to do, I'm going to set the timer for 5 minutes, and this is what I want you to do. You are going to look at your life from the third person, right? So I'm no longer Amy. I am the observer of Amy. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to set the timer for 5 minutes, and we are going to write for 5 minutes from a third person perspective. How is your life going? What is going on in your life? How is Amy from an observer's perspective? And of course, we have a little bit more because we know what's going on internally as well. So I want you to dive into that. But we are doing it from an objective standpoint. So the sentence starter that's going to start us off for the next 5 minutes, the sentence starter is going to be, the life of Amy right now looks like. So put your name in there. The life of blank right now looks like. And we are just going to flow with this. I wonder if I can, I cannot comment. Okay. So those that come late, they come late. And I'm so sad because I wish I had something where I could. If someone's in the chat right now, which I see a couple of you live, if you can write in the chat right now for a prompt, the life of blank right now looks like. And I'm going to set the timer for 5 minutes. And then for those of you who are writing with me, just keep writing. I'll probably do like a little bit of an interruption for those that might come in as a reminder. But we are starting right now. The life of blank looks like, and you're writing about yourself in the third person. If you are here, our prompt for the next 2 minutes, we're writing in third person. And the start of the prompt is the life of blank, which is you, the life of blank right now looks. And I want you to write about yourself in the third person. Write about your life in the third person. All right. Okay, so that is the first portion of this part. Okay, so let me give you an example of the things that I wrote. So for myself, and obviously every time you come to a writing session, there has to be some sort of intention behind it. So one of the things that I have been feeling lately is um, I feel like I'm being called on this like intense trust journey of like not allowing what I see to throw off what I know in my core about who I am, about where my life is going, about what I've envisioned, but also giving myself space to see the exact opposite and not to panic. So I'm going to read a little bit of what I wrote. And isn't this a gorgeous journal? Always have pretty journals, like have a journal that like when you go to it, it just makes you smile. I feel like that makes such a difference when it comes to writing, even journaling. um, so the life of Amy right now looks absolutely beautiful and so uncertain yet certain. She walks with confidence and feels the same. She is really starting to understand how to navigate what feels like a newfound existence. She has been waking up lately with so much joy, but there is still something underlying that just won't go away. It just won't let up. She doesn't know if this is because she is afraid but hiding it. Is she ignoring something or is she learning something? The trend of her life right now appears to be going back to trust. So that inner nine may be about trust. How does she know if she's trusting? How does she consistently address this or know that she's trusting? She's continuing to do what she feels and is being guided without panic. She's also in an incredible relationship with her partner. And yet, there is still so much fear that can be seen and felt. So, when you are writing in third person, right, and you're allowing these things to come up, when you go back to your third person writing, this is where it gets really fun. And this is the investigation part, right? Emotional writing is a two-part. It is excavating and investigating. So the excavating is just letting it come out as it will, right? However it comes out. So we just excavated, just took it all out, and now it's on paper. The second part of this activity is to hone in on one of those emotion words, right? So From mine, I have trust a lot in here. I have uncertainty. I have fear. I have certain. I have confidence, right? So all of those emotions are valuable to explore, to really start to connect back to where you currently are this moment, right? Like all these big spiritual words that we say that we don't really have behavior for, or we don't really have an understanding for, it all just sounds really great. But when we're talking about self-love, when we're talking about connecting, when we're talking about knowing our authentic self, these are the practices that get us there, because our emotions are our internal guidance system. They're our source. They're the source, right? They are us. They are not an extension of us. They are us. When people say you aren't your emotions, I'm like, well, then what are we? Right? Because everything we do in life is based on our feelings, our emotions, they guide us. Right? Even in our logic, our emotions come into play. Like we don't just like say logic, emotions out the window. So they're a part of everything. And of course, like we don't give up logic when we're in our emotions. It's like it's all works together. So when it comes to doing the next part, right? So what I want you to do is I want you to pick one of your emotion words. So my emotion word is going to be trust. Okay. And I want trust. I want you to dialogue with trust. And we're going to do this for 3 minutes. And this is going to be a shorter one, but I encourage you. I'm just going to show you the bare bones of what we're doing here. But when we do this writing activity, feel free to utilize this into deeper writing, right? And really you can go back to your third person writing and pick out each emotion, but I always say go one at a time, because each emotion has a different message and has a value all unto itself, right? So I'm picking trust. And what I want you to do is, the first thing is you are going to write, where do you feel it in your body? Right? And then, why is this emotion in your body? And then the third part, what is it saying to you slash teaching you? Right? Because our emotions are compassionate, our emotions are loving. It is us that puts very unloving messages and unloving narratives to our emotions. But emotions always initially come into our body to protect us. It's a biochemical response to something going on and the way that we're perceiving it, right? So the first part is, where is that emotion in your body? Why has that emotion come? And then what is that emotion saying to you or teaching you? And I'm going to set the timer. I'm only going to set the timer for 3 minutes because I just want you to start. And I would encourage you, just like under each one of those, just to kind of touch on them. The where is that in your body goes really quickly, but the other two will probably take a little bit more time. But I'm going to give you 3 minutes just to play around with this. Here we go. Marley, we're writing. Hush. Oh, Marley's here. Marley? Marley's a great writing buddy. This is my favorite part. Oh my goodness. The reason why I love this part of emotional writing is because every time I get to this part, I'm either smiling and laughing and pissed off, or I'm just like so content, right? Because I, this aspect, if you all hear, it sounds like people are doing like somersaults and stuff on top of my head. It could be happening. I'm just saying, if you hear a noise, it's happening. But what I love about this is that I get like more clarity, and I get words to give me peace about the emotions in my body, and to make me um, to remind me that everything that's currently in my body is growing me, is developing me, is connecting me, right? And that's always a really great feeling. So, like I said, and I'm going to dive into this just really quickly, and then we're going to close out. But the first one, okay, so the where is it at in my body? So, trust is hard for me to know where it shows up, because I only know what it feels like to not trust, right? So, like the lack of trust, or I guess doubt would go there, whatever the actual opposing word of trust is. But I know that I feel those in my temples, in my chest, and in my gut. So when I'm like, when I don't trust, or like I'm doubting something, or I'm like, oh, this is not going to work, like I feel it in those three places. So then, if that's what doubt feels like, then I thought, okay, well, then what does trust feel like? And trust feels like complete peace in my body. Like, you know, when you're just at peace and there's no like disruption, you just feel like you're restful. It's like a natural smile comes across your face. Um, the why behind it, this was just a little bit of what I wrote, but I wrote, trust has always been a more difficult concept for me to embrace. I don't think I had really great examples of trust, and perhaps the practicality of it has been lost on me. I've also experienced such disappointment with trust that I work extra hard so that I don't have to trust. As I am growing in this area, trusting feels easy, and that is terrifying. Bam. I wrote that. I wrote that. Right? I say this all the time. The most powerful, life changing words that you need to hear are going to come out of your own mouth and out of your own mind, heart, soul, wherever our words come from. It's going to come from you. I could spend days diving into this. Trusting feels easy, and that is terrifying to me, right? Because it's like, wait, if trusting is easy and I can just be calm and I can just allow, oh, that's terrifying to somebody who has to have their hands in everything. And I need to know the outcome and I need to know who's involved, what's their intelligence level, what are they doing? How can I do everything that they're doing if they decide not to? Right. And I've lived that existence for so long. And I said, I didn't want that. So now life is giving me the opportunity to trust. But then I go into the teaching part and I'm like, oh, I'm practicing right now. This is why I'm waking up and feeling so much peace and joy and contentment. But at the core of me, in my gut, is this like, oh, how long is this going to last until the shoe falls off? The other shoe. Oh, let me look around. What's happening? Because something's about to disrupt this, because that's what happens because shit doesn't work out, right? So now, just from taking that one emotion, look at how much clarity I got. Look at how much peace I can now have with, hey, right now everything's so good. Everything is so good internally. Externally, things are very uncertain, and sometimes that can feel panicky. But trust is reminding me that I'm practicing. And trust, I want trust to stay in my body, right? Sometimes when you go through these practices, you'll ask that emotion to be released because you're like, okay, you came, you did what you needed to do. I thank you so much. Now I'm asking you to leave my body until you need to come back again for another situation, right? And that's as easy as it can be. And sometimes for us, that feels terrifying. It can't be that easy, right? It has to take years upon years. I got to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars on books and videos and courses and coaches and therapists, right? And obviously, these things are lovely. I support all of these things. But those are secondary resources. You are the primary resource. And this is just another tool that you can use to go to the primary resource and receive the words that you need. So thank you so much for joining me for Write With Me Wednesdays. I will hopefully be back next Wednesday. I don't have a specific time, but as I continue along with these, things might get more detailed. But if you want to write, if you want to do some emotional writing, and of course, I'll probably vary this up because I love writing. So if writing is something that you enjoy and you want a community of people to do it with, even if it's just me and you, let's do it. Have a wonderful day. See you all later.